All right, guys. So today we are going to go over document-based questions. So I'm introducing a new idea here for you that also relates to Standard 2. So just as a quick reminder, Standard 2, we started this with our lesson on primary and secondary sources. But Standard 2 says that I will be able to evaluate sources from history to understand who wrote them and why they wrote them. So, what are document based questions? Well, document based questions are big questions from history, and it's how historians do research. So, oftentimes, historians will start out with a big question that they're trying to answer, and then they're going to use documents, they're going to use primary sources to try to answer those questions. Okay. So to answer document-based questions, you are going to use a set of primary and secondary sources. So because you guys are in middle school, we'll usually give you those sources. We're not going to make you go out and do the research and try to track those down. But the idea is the same. You're going to use a set of primary and secondary sources to try to answer some big question, and we call those document-based questions. So for example, one document-based question that we're going to be working on here in class this week is, did ancient Athens or ancient Rome have a better system of citizenship? So that's a really big question, right? We can't say yes, we can't just say no. We're going to have to make an argument to answer that. So we're going to have to make some decisions about whether we think ancient Rome or ancient Athens had a better system of citizenship, okay? So this would be a great example then of a document-based question. So let's look at some key terms that you're actually going to need to answer that question. So if our question is, did ancient Athens or ancient Rome have a better system of citizenship? Well, the first vocabulary term you're going to need is citizen. What is citizenship? Okay. Well, a citizen is a member of a state or a country who has both rights and responsibilities. Okay. So you've got to be part of your country, right? So I am a citizen of the United States, for example. And that means that I have rights as a citizen. I have free speech. I can say what I want. I have freedom of religion, so I can worship the way that I want or believe what I want, for example. So I have rights. I also have responsibilities. So I have to pay taxes, right? I have to vote. Well, I don't have to vote, but I can vote. I should vote. I have to sometimes serve on a jury. Okay, these are responsibilities. They're things I have to do because I am a citizen. Okay, now that's a little bit different than our next vocabulary term, which would be a subject. So a subject is a person who is under the rule of a king or a dictator. So a subject, they might have some rights, they might have some responsibilities, but mostly they just have to follow orders. So if the king says jump, a subject has to jump. If a dictator says you have to go do this job, then you have to go do that job. So subjects don't have the same rights, they don't have the same freedom that citizens do. Okay, so let's think about that contrast between a citizen, they have freedom, a subject, they do not. Okay, so let's talk about city-states. So city-states are small self-governing countries with a central city. So we talked about this, I think, last month in one of our warm-ups. And a city-state is basically a city that rules over its own territory. They have their own government and they rule over their own territory. And most of Greece was divided into city-states. Okay, so the next step then, or the next vocab term, is a philosopher. I won't worry too much about this, but a philosopher is a person who offers opinions or theories on big questions about life, government, and society. And then lastly, we do need to talk about the Roman Republic. So this is now ancient Rome, because remember, we're going to do a comparison between the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans. So the ancient Romans, for a while, had a republic. So this was Roman society before it became a dictatorship in 27 BCE. Okay. So at that point, the Roman people, they were still citizens. They still had rights because they weren't being ruled by an emperor or a dictator. Okay. So they were citizens, not subjects during the Roman Republic. So let's look real quick, guys, at one of our documents. So this is the first document in the set that we would use to answer this question about whether citizenship was better in ancient Athens or in ancient Rome. And this just has some details about what citizens were in both places. Now, first off, I want to point this out. So our source, this is a chart created from various sources. Well, that means it's a secondary source, right? This is not a primary source. It didn't come from someone with firsthand knowledge of ancient Athens and Rome. It was made later. Okay. Now, here's what I also know. So this is Athens, this is Rome. Okay, so I've got Athens right here, and then I've got the Roman Republic right here. So in Athens, okay, I see a column here, and I've got a yes for Athens and a yes for Rome. So in Athens, we know that free native-born adult men were citizens, because I have a yes here. And in Rome, I know that they were also citizens, because I have a yes here. And then I can do the same thing here with native-born women. Native-born just means they were born in that country, either in Athens or in Rome. So in Athens, oh no, women are not citizens in ancient Athens, but they are in ancient Rome. Same thing down here with male children. Not citizens in Athens, yes, citizens in Rome. Okay. We have some other details off over here to the side. We can talk about female children, slaved, freed slaves, and sons of freed slaves as well. And now I've got some questions down here in my document analysis. So what was required for an adult male to become a citizen of Athens and a Roman male to become a citizen of Athens? Okay, so let's go back to our document. Hey, look, here's some requirements right here. So in Athens, it looks like parents had to be free-born Athenians. That just means that they were citizens of Athens. They weren't slaves, okay? So if you were male and your parents were free-born and also from Athens, then you got to be a citizen. In Rome, it would be anybody, basically, if your parents were married in the Roman Empire. So you had to be born, your parents had to have been married in the Roman Empire. That's the requirement. Okay. And then there's some other questions. Could women become citizens in Athens? Well, we already know the answer to that is no. They could become citizens in Rome. Slaves could not become citizen in either country. Okay, so that's significant as well. And then we might look at this last question. So in your opinion, which system, Athens or Rome, was more generous in granting citizenship to its people? Well, let's take a look. Let's look at our document. So in Athens, I can see that really only one type of person is allowed to be a citizen. The only citizens in Athens are free native-born males. Now, Rome, we know, is not great either, right? They limit their citizenship a little bit. For example, women can be citizens, but they had limited rights, we see here. But at least women could be citizens, and at least children could be citizens, right? And so it looks to me like Rome probably is more generous. More people are allowed to be citizens in Rome. So if I were answering this question, I would say, well, in my opinion, Rome was more generous in granting citizenship to its people because they allowed women to be citizens. They allowed children to be citizens. And in some cases, you could even be the son of a slave and become a citizen. So their system is more generous. All right, that's a secondary source. So let's look at a primary source real quick. So I know it's primary source because it is from a speech, and it is from 424 BCE. So this is from a speech from 424, okay?